Your reality is not random. The people in your life are mirrors. So really, life is not happening to you. It's responding to you. And I know that statement might trigger some people, but if you really understand what I'm about to share with you in this video, your life can change. If you keep experiencing the same painful cycles over and over again, the same heartbreaks, the same financial struggles, the same anxiety, the same lack of progress, the same disappointments with your reality, then there is one common denominator to all of this. It's you. And I say this with love because this realization completely transformed my life. There was a point in my life where I genuinely thought that life was against me, that God had it out for me, that the universe just said, I don't like her. I was stuck in victim mode. I blamed circumstances, I blamed people, I blamed the timing. I kept waiting for something outside of me to change. Meanwhile, my reality stayed the same. Different faces, different situations, but the same patterns. And it wasn't until I took a full accountability in my role, in my own suffering, that my life started to really make a change. And this started to happen almost immediately. Not because I became perfect, not because suddenly life became easy for me, but because I stopped giving my power away completely. After realizing the same pattern in my last relationship, I had a moment where I realized, yes, I deserved better. But also, why did I keep accepting less? Why did I keep abandoning myself? Why did I keep entertaining situations that were beneath me? Why did I keep choosing people who secretly reflected what I felt about myself? And that realization changed everything. Because I can't control other people, but I can control who gets access to me, the standards that I set, the thoughts that I entertain, the identity that I embody, and the reality that I continue reinforcing every single day. Your reality is a mirror. Your life is reflecting your assumptions, your self-concept, your pattern, your emotional state, your standards, your beliefs, and the story that you continuously tell yourself. And if you don't like what your life currently looks like, you can change that. And that's what this video is about. This is not surface level manifestation advice. This is not another technique. This is the foundation of manifestation itself. Everyone is you pushed out is not just a trend. It's not a hack. It's not spiritual delusion. It is the mechanism your reality operates through. Once you truly understand this concept, you stop feeling powerless in your life. You stop waiting, you stop chasing, you stop begging reality to change. You stop begging in prayer. Because prayer without movement is just noise. And you start becoming the version of you who naturally experiences the reality of your desire. This video is your reality check. Not to shame you, not to blame you, but to remind you how powerful you actually are. Because accountability is not punishment. Accountability is power. The moment you recognize your role in creating your reality is the moment you finally gain the power to change it. And this is exactly what we're going to be talking about today. So let's get into it. This is where either people completely awaken or completely misunderstand manifestation. Because everyone is essentially you pushed out. It's not some cute spiritual phrase that people repeat online. It's the law of reality. And when you realize that you can actually break out of it, you will never look at your relationships the same, your circumstances, or even yourself the same way. So what does everyone is you pushed out even mean? It means exactly what it is. Your external reality is reflecting your internal reality. Your assumptions about yourself, other people, love, money, success, rejections, worthiness, trust, abandonment, all of it. It gets projected outward and reflected back to you through people, circumstances, and experiences. In other words, people are responding to the version of you that you're being. Now, I know that sounds extreme at first because most people have thought that reality is separate from them, that life is random, that people are just doing things independently of your consciousness. But if you really start observing your life closely, you begin noticing the patterns. You begin noticing the same emotional experiences keep repeating themselves through different faces, different people, but the same outcome. And this is not accidental because people can only meet you at the level of consciousness that you currently occupy. So if deep down you expect people to reject you, you will unconsciously create experiences that confirms that rejection. If you expect people to disrespect you, ignore you, leave you, betray you, they will continue showing up in ways that reflects those assumptions back to you. Not because you're cursed, not because you're unlucky, but because your subconscious mind is constantly projecting expectations onto reality, and reality responds accordingly. This is why two people can experience the same exact person completely differently. One woman will say, he was obsessed with me, and another one will say, well, he always ghosted me. One person will say, nobody supports me. Another will say, everything is always working out for me. Different assumptions and different realities, because your assumptions create create the role people unconsciously play in your life. And this is why self-concept is everything. Because people are not responding to what you say out loud. They are responding to what you deeply believe is true. Your subconscious mind is always communicating, even when you are silent. Now, let me clarify something before people misunderstand this concept. This is not about controlling people. This is about understanding the energetics and psychological patterns you continuously reinforce through your identity, expectations, emotional state, and assumptions. Your inner world shapes your outer world. This is the foundation. And when I decided to sit and observe this, my entire life changed because I stopped asking, why does this always happen to me? And I started asking, what belief inside of me keeps recreating this pattern? This question made me switch from victim to truly changing it all. Now, the easiest way that I can explain how this works is like thought transmission. Your subconscious mind is constantly broadcasting signals. You are the source. You are the creator. You are the power tower. The assumptions that you dominantly hold about yourself and others gets pushed outward into your reality. Then people unconsciously reflect those assumptions back to you, which is why your reality starts looking suspiciously similar to what you assume about yourself, because that is the story you keep telling yourself. And I know some of you are listening and thinking right now, there's no way that this is true. I used to think the exact same thing until I started to test it out in my own life. And the results were honestly impossible to ignore. So let me give you a real example in my own life. This is actually when I started realizing the concept was not just theory. Because when I first heard about it, I was skeptical too. I was like, okay, people say that there's science behind this, psychology behind this, subconscious programming behind this, but let me test it for myself. I needed my own proof. So I decided to experiment this in my own life. And honestly, this started as less me trying this on someone else and more about rebuilding my self-concept. Because at that time, I was really working on how I saw myself. I started affirming things like, I'm beautiful, my lips are so full and luscious, my hair is long, healthy, thick, and gorgeous, I'm magnetic, I'm unforgettable, I'm a goddess. And listen, it felt a little bit delusional in the beginning, but I kept doing it anyways. And again, this is just the self-concept example, because your subconscious mind learns through repetition. And I realized something. Most people repeat negative thoughts about themselves every single day without questioning it. But the second you intentionally repeat empowering thoughts, suddenly people think it's crazy now. Oh, she's crazy. She's delulu. She's woo-woo. Your mind is always being programmed regardless. So I started choosing the program. Now, while I was doing this, I also decided to tie this into my relationship as a test. Pull up a chair, get cozy, because this is where it gets interesting. I imagined Jay walking in the room, looking at me, and telling me how beautiful I was. That was my scene. Very simple, right? I looped it a few more times in my mind. Nothing obsessive. Nothing complicated. I just decided to throw that in to tie it into my relationship. There was one very specific detail that I added because I wanted it to be the undeniable proof that it worked. I intended for him to specifically call me a goddess. Now let me explain why that matters. Because he never used that word before. Ever. Not once in our entire relationship. So I thought to myself, if he says this specifically, I'll know that this wasn't random. Now there have been examples of people doing this when they want confirmation. Whether that is through seeing a specific type of color drive by. Whether it's seeing a monarch butterfly, whether it's seeing a type of flower. But for me, that was the word. That was my confirmation. Now, if he said this specifically, I'll know that it wasn't random. A few days later, literally a few days later, he walks in the room, looks at me, pauses, and say, "You're beautiful. You're such a goddess." And when I tell you that, my jaw dropped, because in that moment, something clicked for me. He thought it was his idea. That's exactly the point that I'm trying to make in this video. Now, this might be minuscule for you. Oh, he just called her a goddess. No, it could have been a car. I've tried this with cars. I've tried this with specifically a monarch butterfly. Reaffirmed to me. So it works. People do not realize how much consciousness influences reality, because when you dominantly impress an assumption into your subconscious mind, especially involving another person, that energy gets reflected back to you through them. Your assumptions get pushed outward. Now, obviously, I'm simplifying this for you so that it's easier to understand. You are the source, and the people in your reality unconsciously respond to that story, assumptions, and identity you continuously embody. So the thought that Jay sees me as a goddess, and eventually he reflected that assumption back to me, even though consciously he believed this was his own spontaneous thought. Experiences like this started happening more to me over and over and over again once I became aware of how powerful assumptions actually are, which is why I really need you to think about this carefully. If your assumptions can create positive experiences, what do you think your negative assumptions have been creating this entire time? Because most people are unconsciously affirming, I always get rejected, nobody stays, I'm never chosen, people always lose interest in me, I'm not good enough. Why am I not good enough for him? And then wonder why reality keeps reflecting that back to them. Your subconscious mind doesn't care whether your story is helping you or hurting you. It simply reflects what is most dominantly impressed upon it. This is why becoming conscious of your inner dialogue is so important. This is why I keep saying manifestation is not just about technique. It's about identity. It's about your assumptions. It's about the story that you continuously repeat in your mind. Because whether you realize it or not, you are assigning roles to people in your reality, and then they unconsciously perform according to those expectations. So when you continuously expect someone to reject you, ignore you, lose interest, leave you, that assumption eventually gets reflected back to you. Not because you intentionally wanted pain, but because the subconscious mind always seeks confirmation of what it believes is true. Your reality mirrors your dominant assumptions. Now that you know this, instead of reacting to reality, you start creating intentionally. So if you've been struggling with someone, or someone has been inconsistent with you, cold towards you, distant from you, you have to stop asking, why are they like this? And start asking, what story have I been unconsciously repeating about them? Because that version that you continuously focus on is often the version that just continuously shows up. Now, let me be clear, this is not about obsessively trying to control another person. This is about understanding that your assumptions influence the dynamics of your experience. If you constantly affirm, they love me, they prioritize me, they adore me, they can't stop thinking about me, he always chooses me, you begin shifting the internal state, and eventually reality starts reflecting that back to you. Now, I know the concept may sound intense to some people, especially when we start talking about free will. Your reality is filtered through your consciousness, meaning your assumptions shape the version of reality that you experience. Think about it like this. If you manifest money, someone has to feel inspired to pay you. If you manifest a job, someone has to decide to hire you. If you manifest social media growth, people suddenly feel drawn to your content. If you manifest opportunities, someone has to think of your name. Everything in your reality is connected through consciousness. Your assumptions influence that experience that you repeatedly encounter. That's why self-concept affects relationships, money, opportunities, friendships, success, confidence, visibility, literally everything. Your outer world reflects your inner world. So if you don't like the way someone is showing up in your reality, change the story, change the assumption. Stop affirming the version of reality that you no longer want to experience. Because most people unconsciously manifest the very thing that they fear all day long. They repeat, nothing works out for me. Why am I so unlucky? Why does this always happen to me? And then reality reflects those assumptions right back to them. But the beauty in this is that you can change it. You can change it right now. You can decide, I am chosen, I am valued, I am prioritized, I'm magnetic, I'm loved. Everything is always working out for me. And over time, reality begins conforming to that identity. I also do want to say something important to this. Do not use this understanding from a place of hate, revenge, manipulation, or harm. Because if everyone is you pushed out, then what you project outward is still affecting your own consciousness. The energy that you embody is the reality you experience. So manifest from love, manifest from wholeness, manifest from self-respect, manifest from abundance, not fear, not obsession, not control. Because the healthiest manifestation happens when you stop forcing reality and start becoming the version of yourself who naturally experiences the life that you desire. That is the real secret. In the conversations that you have with yourself when nobody else is around, because those inner conversations are constantly shaping your reality. This is especially important when it comes to specific people, because I know that's what a lot of people struggle with. If your SP keeps rejecting you, ignoring you, being inconsistent, acting cold, you have to stop mentally identifying them as the person who hurts you and start identifying them as the person who adores you, the person that prioritizes you, the person that can't get enough of you, the person that always chooses you, because your subconscious mind responds to repetition, and the story that you persist eventually hardens into fact. That's why persistent matters. Not obsession, not checking the 3D every 5 seconds, not spiraling, persistence, because those manifestations happen internally first. And honestly, everyone being you pushed out can move fast, like really fast, because I've used this in every area of my life, my business, my relationships, my sales opportunities, money, even getting through college, when I was repeatedly told that there was no money for the tuition, even when I tested it with that whole self-concept and goddess keyword. This happened in days, because one thing about me, whether it was trying to get through college or trying to get confirmation through a keyword, a butterfly, a car color, I refuse to emotionally accept no as final. And this is where revision comes in, because when someone tells me something that I don't want to hear, I revise it mentally, and you can do so as well. If someone says no, in my mind I said yes. If someone says that's impossible, such as the college thing. I rejected it. I said, no, it's gonna happen. I'm going to college. And in my mind at that time, I heard, I'll figure it out. I'll find a way. And it was a smooth ride. If reality shows me rejection, I revise it into acceptance. And people end up changing their minds. Things start aligning into your life for you to push forward. And sometimes this can happen within hours or minutes. That's why you need to understand something very important. Your imagination is not fake. Your assumptions are not meaningless. Your inner conversations are not harmless thoughts floating in your mind. They are creative power. People are constantly manifesting through stories they repeatedly entertain internally. But the moment that you shift identity, everything will start shifting for you. And this applies to everything. If you want more friends, start assuming that people love being around you. If you want to grow on social media, start assuming that people love your content. If you want more opportunities, start assuming that people think of you first. If you want a better work environment, start imagining your coworkers treating you amazingly. If you want your SP to show up differently, stop repeating the version of them who hurt you and embody the version of you who is deeply loved, prioritized, chosen, adored. People will start aligning when you start operating from that new version of you. Whether it's a new SP, new opportunities, new job, new friends, new growth, more money, more love, and you really start observing your life, the right people appear. Circumstances start rearranging themselves. And that's because consciousness starts rearranging itself around your dominant assumptions. That's why the version of you that you identify with matters, because you stop feeling helpless in your life, because you realize you're not stuck. You are not doomed to repeat the same pattern again. You can rewrite it at any given moment. So if someone in your life is struggling, start seeing them differently. If someone feels broken, start imagining them healed. If someone feels lost, start imagining them thriving. People are not permanently fixed. Reality is not fixed. Identity is not fixed. Circumstances are not fixed. Everything can change. You can change. Your relationships can change. Your finances can change. Your confidence can change. Your life can completely transform once you stop identifying with the version of yourself that keeps recreating those limitations. Because you're not powerless, you're not stuck, you are constantly planting seeds, and eventually those seeds harden into reality. So start planting better ones. Start imagining differently. Start speaking to yourself differently. Start seeing yourself differently. Start expecting better. And I really need you to understand this. You are far more powerful than you were taught to believe. You are not flawed. You are not unworthy. You are not bad at manifesting. Most people were simply conditioned into fear, limitations, rejections, insecurity, and survival thinking. So now that you know this and know that everything rearranges itself in a way that often you cannot logically predict. The right people appear, the doors open, the conversations shift, circumstances reorganize themselves. It's not random. It's because consciousness is always organizing around your dominant assumptions. So please use this information wisely. Use it lovingly. Use it intentionally. Use it to create a beautiful life for yourself, because you absolutely can. And if you want more videos on manifestation, self-concept, subconscious reprogramming, reality creation, make sure to subscribe, because we dive deep into this channel. See you on the next one. Bye!